Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Tuesday, February 13th. We're going to take a look at Hood today. So with earnings coming up, I thought we would see where if Hood decides to boom or bust, where some levels might sit, where it could hit some support or resistance. I will also say it could go relatively sideways. Now, it does have a history of some big earnings reactions, but it doesn't mean that it has to always be the case. That said, obviously I've covered ground here from about $10 up to almost $17. Just in case. So actually, we're stretched well above that, but these are old levels from when it was in these ranges. So the levels that I have, the nearest in level down 1159. So we'll see where things even settle on that into close and whatnot. To the upside 1259. So we'll see if that comes into play. If it does then continue upward 1323, 1468, 1694, and then you see the stretch levels up here if those ever come into play. If it does dip 1020, and then this basically $10 level, 1002. Probably I put in so many more levels to the upside, I'm realizing. I'll throw another one in here to the downside around 844. I know that there leaves a big sort of price gap here, not an actual gap, but a price gap. There's probably one here around like 941, but this already feels like a lot of levels on the chart, so I don't want to clutter it up even more. I'll leave these in for now, and if we need to sort of button things up in the coming days or weeks and folks are interested, then we could certainly come in and do that. If we do scroll left a little bit, we see just sort of like this, incredible downturn from up here, in the 40s and the 30s and then the 20s, and situating down here at 681 at some point, but just then moving relatively sideways. I mean, I know it's almost double that now, but I mean, if you just take the long view, the zoomed out view, this is a big percentage area here price-wise, but it is moving just sort of like within that range, sort of slowly but consistently slightly higher. Periodically, and then taking big dives and then coming up slightly higher. So these big dives and then coming up, quite interesting. So we'll see how that plays out and how the market digests whatever the actual report is, along with where the price action is currently situated. Now on the think or swim side of things, we have a trigger and fire that's already started. So we'll see what that sort of brings about. It may have sort of a lackluster impact because the earnings is coming up, but we do see a lot of these stocks start to trigger going into earnings as folks just sort of like keep the price relatively in check as they await the report to see what's going to happen and how the market is going to react to it. I did bring in the ATR levels. They stretch quite far. To the downside here, we have 966 level here all the way down to 618. So it's a big stretch. And then here on the upside, we have 1182 that stretches all the way up to 1530. So, we plotted above that on the Webull side. We didn't plot this low on the Webull side, so maybe this is sort of some help, but who knows. On the channel side of things, it was mostly pinned to the mid-range of the channel, put in this, like I said, this very brief trigger, and now so far a brief fire. We'll see if that can bring about anything. It's such a brief trigger, though it, leading up to it, it was relatively pinned to the mid-range and then started to move off of it since then, and not able to stretch up out of the channel at all lately, but it wouldn't be shocking if there is, a big move either direction based off of earnings if it gets out of the channel. And then we can start looking for things like this where it's out of the channel, and then we start to say, okay, when's it going to come back in and test the mid-range of that channel? And that's where it does it right there. And that's always what we look for when stocks leave the channel in either direction. When does it come up and test the mid-range? So we'll see what that looks like depending on the report itself, and then of course the reaction to that report. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week has been going well, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.